Hello everybody, this is TJR. If this is your first time here, welcome to the channel. If not, welcome back. You know, whenever I'm asked who are my favorite music artists, I always reply with the Beatles, Elton John, and Led Zeppelin. The Beatles were the first band that showed me that pop music could be anything and that there were no boundaries. Elton John was my musical reason for being. From the moment I first heard the track Funeral for a Friend, Love Lies Bleeding off the album Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, I knew I had to play the piano. The piano was my first instrument, and Elton John was the reason I became a musician. My feelings about these first two artists were solidified very early on, but initially I was somewhat resistant to Led Zeppelin. I think some of my reluctance to really dive into Led Zeppelin in the beginning was rebellious in nature. Led Zeppelin was so insanely popular during my high school youth of the 70s. Pretty much every single kid I went to school with had scrawled the band's name along with their other favorite bands onto their high school peachy folders or textbooks. And I think I felt a certain level of rebelliousness towards this. Now, this doesn't mean that I hated them. I liked the radio hits, like Stairway to Heaven and Whole Lotta Love, but I didn't hold them in quite the same regard as most of my fellow classmates did. Now, I should add that at this time, I had not yet started listening to FM rock. Instead, I was listening to the Top 40 radio of the day. And yes, Top 40 radio actually did play Stairway to Heaven back then. My musical appreciation at this point in time was for tight, consistent songwriting. Esoterical jam sessions like the ones used in Dazed and Confused and How Many More Times felt bloated and self-indulgent to me. And Top 40 radio was playing Led Zeppelin back then. In fact, my first exposure to the song Whole Lotta Love was the edited Top 40 radio version, which you never hear anymore. And I have to admit, I felt a little bit put off by the album version when I first heard it. I felt put off by this longer midsection that preceded the guitar solo. Now I listen to this interlude as an amazing piece of abstract sound design. But back then, it just felt annoyingly bloated, and I felt like it distracted from the meat of the song. Again, you have to remember that I was coming from a top 40 background, and hearing this kind of musical expression was completely foreign to me. And some of the rebelliousness I felt back then would manifest itself with an early interest in the burgeoning punk rock sound that began in the late 70s. I actually got the first Sex Pistols album released back in 77, and for a hot minute there, I embraced the nihilism, while at the same time still loving the pop that was Elton John and the Beatles. Looking back, I have to laugh at how ridiculously contradictory I was being. But in time, I would begin to embrace Led Zeppelin's entire catalog and understand it in all its glory. In time, I would learn to appreciate the musical tension that was unique to them and to them only. The way that John Bonham would play slightly behind the beat, Jimmy Page playing slightly ahead of the beat, and John Paul Jones playing right on the beat. All the while, Robert Plant's vocals would just swirl around all of them. In the same way that the Beatles taught me that pop music could be anything, Led Zeppelin taught me that hard and heavy rock could also be anything, and that there were no rules save for the ones we chose to impose, something that both Led Zeppelin and the Beatles refused to do. Yes, for a period of time in my youth, I did rebel against their enormous popularity. But in time, I would regard them as one of the best rock bands ever, and they would remain a part of my top 3 favorite music artists of all time. Hello, this is TJR. I hope you enjoyed this video. If so, I hope you will give it a like. This really helps my channel a great deal. And do you have any favorite music artists that you originally perhaps didn't like as much as you do now? If so, let us know in the comments. A big thank you to my Patreon supporters who get exclusive weekly videos not available on this channel and who are getting an alternate version of this video today. If you'd like to be a Patreon supporter, go to patreon.com/TJR the original. Everybody, thank you so much for watching. Hope you all stay safe and healthy. Take care.